and welcome back to another episode of To Whom It May Concern. I'm your host Malak, here with my co-hosts Inara, Khuwaila, and Maria.
Hey.
So today's actually our third episode in a series we call The Jury's In. The Jury's In is basically Mariam bringing a case to us and presenting us with all the evidence and the logistics of the case. And then Inara, Khuwaila, and I, as the jurors, have to personally decide if the accused is guilty or not. Then we come together, we discuss it, and we find out what the jurors actually found the defendant guilty or innocent. So we actually enjoyed this episode thoroughly because you guys, as the listeners, also get to be presented the facts and the logistics, get to come to your own conclusion. So sit back and turn the volume up because the jury's in.
For today's case, I've decided to present to you actually a really old case that's been debated about for a long period of time. This was the murder of Andrew and Abby Borden. So, on August 4th, 1892, there was...
92?
Wait, hold on. I need to grab a notebook.
Now that everybody's ready, I'm going to begin this tale by introducing the five main people involved. John Morris, Lizzie Borden, Andrew Borden, Abby Borden, and Bridget. Now, how are they all connected? Andrew and Abby were husband and wife. Abby was the stepmother of Lizzie, okay, because Andrew had a first wife and she passed away. John Morris is the cousin of Andrew, and Bridget is their maid. On the morning of August 4th, 1892, they were all having breakfast together. About an hour later, at 8:48, John needed to go and visit family on the other side of town, so he left. Andrew decided that he wanted to go take a walk, so he went on his morning walk, and Abby went upstairs to go clean. What Lizzie was doing is kind of questionable, as I'll tell you later on in the story. At approximately 10:30, Andrew came back home and tried to use his keys on the front door, but it was locked, which was weird because, it was jammed. It wasn't just locked, it was jammed. So Bridget had to come and unjam it, which is an odd thing to happen because the door didn't really jam before, and she heard laughter coming from upstairs, and she connected that laughter with Lizzie. Okay, so he went to go take a nap on the couch, but before then, he asked Lizzie, "Where's Abby?" And Lizzie said, "Well, I think she got a note from a friend and she went out to go see them." Andrew takes a nap, and at approximately 11:10, Lizzie starts shouting, because he was sleeping on the couch. She starts shouting, and she's like, "Bridget, come here, somebody murdered my father." And he was all bloody, so they called the cops, whatnot. The cops come, and they actually find Abby was murdered upstairs early on in the day, sometime between 9 o'clock and the 10:30 that Andrew came home. Now they went into questioning. Who was their murderer? They found, by the way that these people were murdered was Abby was struck 11 times by 17 times, by a hatchet-like item. They assume it's an axe of some sort. And then Andrew was also struck in the same way while he was sleeping, so he was murdered while he was sleeping, approximately 10 or 11 times. So later they were questioning who could have done this. They ruled out John Morris because he had a seal-tight alibi. All the taxi drivers that took him to his destination were vouched for him, and also the family that he went to go visit vouched for him as well. They ruled out Maggie because they believed that she didn't have any true motive to do so, and her alibi for cleaning the upstairs room was also pretty solid. So that left Lizzie, and at first they didn't believe Lizzie was the suspect.
Time out.
Okay.
Is Maggie a new character?
Me? I thought Bridget's the maid.
Oh, well, her nickname was Maggie. So Bridget's nickname is Maggie. Good job, guys, for paying attention.
I was like, did I miss somebody?
No, you guys didn't miss anybody. Bridget's nickname was Maggie. So good job, jurors. doing your due diligence. So moving on, the police didn't suspect Lizzie when they first arrived on the murder scene. So therefore, they didn't check her for any sort of signs of her being the murderer, such as blood splatter on her clothes, or they didn't really question too tightly into her alibi. So they bring her into trial. And when they do, and when she's pre-questioned about where was she was kind of giving very contradictory responses and very weird responses. So at first she said, oh, I went to go get lead ready because I wanted to go on a fishing trip. And then she later said, oh no, I was actually getting lead ready because I was fixing a window pane. And then later she said, I was actually eating pears up in the barn. And when the police checked the barn, they seen that there was no footprints in the dust and all the cobs were still there. So there was no possible way that someone would have been there. But the defense gave an excuse for this, saying that she was put on medication by the doctors to help her with her hysterics. So she was put on some drugs. So that could explain some of the contradictory answers she had. Also, the defense brought a witness, a neighbor, that claimed that he seen Lizzie leave the barn at 11:03 a.m. So at the time she found her father was approximately 11:10. They put her at the barn at approximately 11:03. Okay? So moving on, the prosecution believes that Lizzie has a motive to kill her father and her stepmother. She did not like her stepmother because her father had earlier on gave the stepmother a house. They bought her a house in her name, and she allowed her sister to live in it and whatnot. And ever since that point in time, instead of Lizzie calling the stepmother mother, she instead would call her Abby, or even would address her more formally. At this point, they believe she had motive, one, because she didn't like her stepmother, and two, because Andrew was actually really wealthy, but lived far under his means. So, for example, they didn't have a lot of luxuries in the house that they could afford, and that upset her. The prosecution was saying she could have lived a far higher quality of life than they were currently living, and that her cousins were also living around her. So all her cousins lived in a better quality house with water inside instead of having to go pump it from the outside. So that's various luxuries that the father wouldn't get even though he could afford to. Also, it's important to note that at this time, she was about 30 years old and unmarried. So she couldn't do anything about her station. And essentially, the prosecution was saying that she was stuck in the way that she was living. And the only way to get out of this situation without having a scandal attached to her name was if Abby and her dad were gone. That's what they were describing to the jury. Later on, a witness came to the stand, and he was a pharmacist. This is important because he claimed that Lizzie had come to him a day before the murders. So it was August 4th. He's either said a day or two before the murders, and tried to purchase poison from him, claiming that she wanted to kill moths. But he refused to sell it to her. And yet, the day before, on August 3rd, the whole household was claimed to be sick, in which Abby thought it was food poisoning. She had went to her friend and said, I think we were all food poisoned. We're all really sick in the house. Remind you, she was not able to purchase this poison. Okay? He denied her that. But she said it was for moths. Her best friend, while she was at the house after the murder, claimed that she seen Abby burning a dress. And Lizzie, because Abby's already murdered, she seen Lizzie burning a dress. And when she questioned Lizzie as to why she was burning this dress in the fire, Lizzie said it was because she had paint on it from when she was painting. So she didn't need the dress because it was ruined and there was no way to get the paint out, so she burned it in the fire. Now, the reason why the prosecution thought this was so suspicious is because initially, when she wasn't a suspect, they didn't check her clothes for any bloodstains whatsoever. And they analyzed that maybe she murdered them in that dress and then hid it, or she actually committed the murders, this is a little bit odd, but she committed the murders naked and then threw on a dress quickly afterwards for efficiency's sake. So she was able to wash up a lot faster and then put on her clothes. As you could assume, it was extremely gruesome and blood would get everywhere. So that's the prosecution's argument and what the defense kind of rebutted. Also, important to note that 5 days before the actual trial of Lizzie, there was a murder that happened to another woman in the area involving being axed to death. So this was also on the jury's mind when they were deliberating whether she was guilty or innocent.
Question. Did they ever figure out who killed the other lady with the axe?
The jury at the time did not know this information, so therefore you will not know this information.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we
But
basically...
also, like I said, there were contradictions in Lizzie's story. One of the things being that before she went out to the barn, she helped her dad take off his shoes when he was laying on the couch before he took a nap. But in the police pictures, the dad's still in his shoes.
When did she start taking medications? Like, was
She
this
wasn't taking medications. The doctor, in order to help her with her hysterics after seeing these murders, like she was put on
after.
something. Yes.
Oh,
Not
this was after.
before.
Okay,
Not before.
That
which
changes
is interesting.
This changes things.
TSD maybe.
Okay, so basically the mom was murdered first in the daytime and everyone thought she was out with a friend. And
It was all in the daytime. So all this happened before 11
She was killed
a.m.
before the father.
Yes.
Yeah. And
They
then
approximate she was killed either between 9 and 10:30.
a.m. Okay.
Yes.
And then
So essentially the murderer would have to murder the wife and then hide somewhere and then kill the dad later.
Where'd they find the bodies?
The mom's body was upstairs in a room, the room that she went upstairs to clean. And the dad's body was found downstairs on the couch where he took his nap.
Okay. And the only ones that were in the house were Maggie, which is the daughter / stepdaughter, and
No,
cleaning
Maggie is
the cleaning
the
lady,
maid.
and then
Maggie / Bridget, because that is.
and then Liz, who's the daughter / stepdaughter, because the cousin was out doing his stuff.
Yes, he's an airtight alibi.
Okay.
You know what's funny? I feel like there was a joke about this, and it's always like the maid, or was, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
So I feel like there was a lot of like different pieces of information.
Okay, I think I have
A lot of random.
my thoughts pre.
Before we ask you guys individually, do you guys have all the information set, or do you need me to repeat something?
I think
From what you said, I think I have.
Yeah.
And remember, to be found for murder, and at this time, she would have gotten the death penalty by hanging.
Wow.
You need to have beyond all reasonable doubt that she committed these murders.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that you guys have the facts in order, before you guys sit and deliberate, we are going to take your individual, unargumented opinions on the case and your decision. Pre-discussion.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so just hearing what you said, I think she's innocent because she had an eyewitness place her leaving the barn, so she couldn't have like realistically killed her father in that time frame. And then the dress thing, the fact that they didn't check her for blood, I feel like that would be put on the cop. Like that's the police's fault. So she shouldn't be accused of blood. Like it could have literally been anything. And then the fact that there was another murder with the same tool somewhere else tells me that I'm pretty confident that she's innocent.
So, I do not think she is guilty. I feel like she probably I don't think she had a reason to want to kill her father and stepmom. And I'll bet you it's the cleaning lady or the maid. What's something going on? Is some sort of affair or something?
So I'm actually on the fence with this case because one, all the things that the prosecutors are saying aim towards Lizzie, right? So like her stories are not adding up. It's interesting that she went to the pharmacist. She's having hysteria and needs meds for it. The whole thing with the dress. So there's a lot of things that are not clear, but at the same time, that's also, so that's why I think she may be guilty. But then on the other hand, I don't know, because there was not actual proof to say that she was. So there was no blood mark. There was nothing other than the stories just don't add up, and it points to her. So I really don't know.
Now that they all gave their initial thoughts on the matter, they're going to deliberate on whether they believe they're guilty and innocent. And I will be putting my opinions out there too, because you guys know I can't keep quiet.
No, you can't tell us. You can't sway us one way or the other.
I'm not going to sway anything, but I do have opinions.
My initial thought is she's innocent.
Honestly, my initial thought was she's guilty, because I'm like, oh, all of these things, like, clearly they don't show up. Like, I mean, all these things don't add up. Coming from, like, the dress, she's burning it. Okay, she's on, like, meds now after the fact. You know, she was laughing, and, like, just like all these other things that happened seem to point to Lizzie.
Wait, when was she laughing? I don't remember that.
Wasn't she the one in the beginning?
Remember when the door was jammed the dad couldn't get in?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't remember that part.
I think she's weird. I think she was probably hiding something. But
I think she's sus. Like, I think she's a suspicious character, but I don't think there's enough evidence to hang her. Like, I don't think enough things make her seem guilty. Because she had an eyewitness place her at the barn.
Okay, because eyewitnesses are so reliable.
Yeah, eyewitnesses are not reliable, especially in the dark. Wait, this is daytime.
It's 11 a.m.
This is daytime.
But okay, I will admit, though, right off the bat, the investigation was garbage.
Terrible. Yeah, like they didn't even examine clothing. That would have been in itself.
But also the fact that another murder was committed with the same MO somewhere else.
Okay, now that you guys know.
But what if she's the one that did it?
No, she was probably all consumed with this trial stuff to commit another murder days after.
Maybe that's the normal way of murdering people during that time. You just have an axe and kill them. No, seriously.
But, wait, I thought the murder was done before.
No, 5 days before her trial.
But after her parents were killed.
Yes.
Was she killing somebody else that was going to be investigating or going against her?
No, it was the neighbor.
Yeah, and then she could literally be burning her dress for any other reason. It doesn't have to.
No, that's weird.
It is weird.
But
she's a weird person, maybe.
Okay, no, you really couldn't wait. Like, wouldn't a normal person be like, man, if I burn my dress now, that will look suspicious. So I'm just gonna wait.
Right, I didn't say she's not normal, but not all weird people are murderers. Like, I don't think that's...
Yeah, I think she's innocent, to be honest. Yeah. But I don't know, she's kind of...
Think about it, why wouldn't she be motivated? She's 30 years old, still living.
There has to be some malice. I mean,
yeah,
she didn't call her mom. She was very formal with her.
But we can't, like, insinuate all these things. Like, it's based on the facts that we were given. Like,
those are facts.
We can't give her bad intentions or anything.
Okay, the facts are she didn't have a good relationship with her stepmom, and she's 30 years old living
at home
with a rich dad who lives in a poor lifestyle. That's my understanding.
Like, she should be upset with the father, but, like, the stepmother is just there.
That's why she got both of them. Like, she went all the way.
No, I still don't think she's guilty. I still think she's innocent. Like, I think those are all true, but I don't think there's enough evidence to prove it.
You don't think that someone could be suffocated enough to the point that they're pushed over the edge?
I think if you're crazy, yeah, which she kind of was.
Imagine looking at your life and being like, man, I'm going to be like this forever if I don't do something.
I think she was, like, she probably hated her life, but
even the pharmacist situation, like, that was shady.
Yeah, why would she give her poison?
But they got he didn't give it to her. I mean, I guess she
could. Like, what if she wanted to kill them with poison, but because he didn't give it to her, she's like, okay, I have an axe.
Or did she end up going somewhere else? Because there was some situation where they're like, oh, we did feel a little
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe she tried to poison them, and that's why their stomach was hurting because it wasn't enough concentration or it wasn't the right thing,
Or maybe,
and then it wasn't working, so she axed them.
or maybe the pharmacist knew she wanted to buy poison, and he didn't sell it to her, and he killed the parents, and he framed her because he knew she was looking.
Is the pharmacist related at all to them? Like, does he know
No.
them?
No.
Okay,
How do you want to kill them?
You're gonna blame and frame the pharmacist and this girl that has the likelihood of actually committing this crime, Malak.
No, but it makes it interesting. No, it makes it interesting because the fact that Malak can even come up with something like that, like, so what if that could be like, oh, maybe that has a possibility, because we're not convinced 100% that she did.
Yeah, I'm not convinced enough to want to hang her. I don't think there's.
I wouldn't blame the pharmacist. There could be another story, and obviously the prosecutors are aiming at one person and just like finding anything and basically making up.
She has enough holes in her story though. Like, she tried to buy poison. She burned the dress that she was wearing the night of. She was laughing and acting all
No,
weird.
we're not sure that was the same dress.
Yeah,
from
they
there.
don't even know it's the same dress. See?
She was burning a dress.
She was burning a
But
dress.
she was also psychotic at that point.
Why was she psychotic?
Why was she psychotic?
She needed to be medicated.
Yeah, she needs to be medicated.
She was her hysteria.
No, she wasn't medicated. They gave her medication right after the fact when they were questioning her.
Yeah, so she was
It's
psychotic.
like when a patient comes in the patient room. A patient comes into the ER and they're hysterical, so you give them like a sedative. That doesn't mean that they're going to spend weeks on the sedative.
Well, you kept saying her hysterics. I was like,
she was hysterical, so they gave her a sedative.
That one time?
Yeah, they were saying this sedative was still in her system though.
When she was saying the story.
Yes.
That could also have
That
had
definitely causes loopiness.
Yeah, but later on, she told another story, and those stories didn't add up.
Oh.
I'm just saying, after, like, the medication could have had an effect that they didn't know on her, and therefore that's why she reacted badly to them.
Okay, but
I don't think we should play this what if game. We should go with what are the facts we're presented
with and
that we have.
I'm gonna have to stand by my innocence. I still find her innocent.
Okay, but like that's not what we have to go over the facts, Malak.
Yeah, based on the facts, I think she's innocent.
So here's the thing. The only two people in the house that could have done it would have been.
Those are the only two people we know were in the house. There could have been a
Yeah. The only two people that we know of are the daughter and the cleaning lady.
Yeah.
Now, obviously there could be someone hiding, but like, unless, I don't know, do we know what the reputation of the parents were within the community? Like, do they have a lot of enemies?
No, they didn't.
What you doing?
Huh?
Clean.
Yeah, I truly think it was the
like, you could have.
You know what? Lizzie's guilty, and the other one's assisting. No, I'm just kidding.
Why didn't she hear the other? Like, if you're striking someone in the back of the head, I would assume they would yell or something.
And twice. And she did this 11 times.
11? Yeah, how did she not
Does
hear?
she have the strength to do this 11 times? That's a lot of power.
Yeah, how big was she?
That's true. You know, what a great observation.
Wait, yeah.
Well, the murder weapon, by the way.
No, like 11 times? Like
no, they said a type of axe. It could have been a small axe.
Yeah. Okay, but here's the thing. It's suspicious either way, because if the cleaning lady was doing that, why didn't Liz hear? And if Liz was doing it, why didn't
It's in the barn.
Yeah, it's a barn. It's pretty big is what I'm
The
saying.
house. See,
But my thing is, they inspected the barn, and it didn't look like people went in there.
But then if Liz was in the barn, then the cleaning lady did it. I think it's a cleaning lady.
thank you. Free my
But
girl.
like always blaming the maids.
I think Liz is innocent. I think she's crazy, but she's innocent.
No, I
From what
don't
I'm hearing
know.
from all of us, we don't feel 100% that Liz is guilty.
I don't.
So we wouldn't say that she committed the murder 100%.
None of us feel comfortable with sentencing her to death when we still have so many questions.
Yeah.
So I think unanimously, if it has to be either guilty and hung or innocent, we're gonna go with innocent.
I would say not 100% guilty. Yeah.
So innocent.
I don't know if she's innocent though.
I don't know if she's innocent either.
There's not enough evidence to convict her.
But I would give her a percentage more guilty than innocent.
Yeah, like, I'm not saying she's innocent.
Either guilty and we hang her, or she's innocent. Pick one.
She's
No,
not
why-
innocent.
No, what are the other options that I have?
No, that's it. Just guilty or innocent.
Should just death or let her go free?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jail time for 4 years, 5 years. Maybe
Wait,
more.
why would you go to jail if you're not convicted of the crime?
No, because she's convicted of something.
No,
You know,
remember.
Satisfy her conscience.
We don't know.
No.
What did she do?
Remember,
don't
you
like
have
this.
to have beyond all reasonable doubt to find guilt. If you are doubtful, then you have to make them innocent.
Yeah, you know,
Not-
you can't.
You know what? I'm like 30% doubtful, so a couple
You
years in jail.
You get 30% of the time. That's how it works, Inada.
But like death
You know,
is so like
I
extreme.
think realistically,
I
Inada
would
would
never want to convict anybody of that.
Inada's not good at
No.
not be a good juror. She's bad at
I
it.
would not.
I wouldn't have.
I
That's,
would.
that's too much pressure. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
So we've all
Okay.
decided she is not completely guilty, so she is innocent.
We're gonna let her go free.
She
Yeah,
didn't.
that's how it works, Inada.
Second degree murder. Tell me
But
what that is.
someone was going around murdering, and it definitely wasn't her because she was in police custody, right?
Okay, well, she was, by the way,
Oh God.
the jurors at the time knew someone was murdered, but someone else was actually convicted of that crime. He was found guilty. No, was found guilty of that crime, but on that night, on the day that Andrew and Abby were murdered, he was nowhere near their house or anywhere around them.
And was
And
his
he had an alibi to testify for that.
Is that just like the type of like what Inada was saying? Like that's just how people murdered each other back
Just a coincidence? Or maybe he had inspiration from those murders?
maybe like it.
I
Sure.
still think she's.
I don't know. I feel like it'd be common during that time. Like we're talking about 1892 farmland. Like I would see axe as a weapon.
Yeah, I
Or
think it was more inspiration after rumors going around the
The
city.
jury
inspiration.
actually did find her innocent.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say guilty.
No, they found her innocent.
I'm good.
And after she was found innocent, she actually went back to her neighborhood, and she was attending. She was actually a pariah in her neighborhood, so people treated her as if she was guilty. And she moved to a really high class area, became friends with theater people, was hosting parties.
So she.
That is the tale.
See what happened when you wrongfully convict someone? You ruin their life.
But what if she actually did it so she can live her poshy life now?
yeah.
What if she didn't do it and they convicted her and she had to move away because nobody accepted her?
You know what's crazy? What the prosecutors were saying, like what one of her motivators would be about the wealth, was it turned out to be true because she acted on it. She got the wealth and lived that posh life.
It wasn't true because we don't know that she killed them for the money.
You
But
don't
she-
know if it's true or not.
But I'm saying that was like one of the things that they were assuming. Like this might be a motivation. This might be her motive, and
It seemed like
she followed through with it.
That's literally a motive they say for any dead person that ends up murdered. Oh,
But
they
it's usually money is a huge motivation. Money and love and revenge.
those are
And jealousy. It seemed like what they were saying was like she had jealousy or
Yeah. She was angry that the dad bought a house for the stepmom and it had the sister of the stepmom living in it.
I don't know if she was completely innocent, but I still don't think we have enough to call her guilt. Like if they did a proper investigation to begin with, and like they saw some sort of evidence of like
Yeah.
blood on a dress or
yeah.
like wounds or scars, something like that, then it would have been a more slam dunk.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree.
So this is how you butcher the investigation and
But-
then the jurors can't do their job properly.
Yeah, but you know what's crazy? It's so easy to look at it. Like we forget about like these two people lost. Like there's two people that lost their life, and I feel like we always forget. Like we're just focusing on Lizzie, but it's like, and so it's so easy to call her innocent because there's not enough like proof. But then it's like, don't you want somebody to be held accountable for this?
But like, do you want to be responsible for killing another innocent person?
Oh no,
Yeah.
I know, but it's crazy if she was let go free and she did.
That just shows you like how like the police officers and the detectives in the beginning were so biased that they were like, oh, we'll just overlook people that they don't think would do it. And they're just gonna go to people that they would.
In their mind, the police were like, she's a woman and she's weak and feeble. How
Yeah.
could she commit a heinous crime like this?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised though. 1892, everything was more backwards than it is now. We were even more backwards then than we are now. We may not be perfect. Our justice system may not be perfect, but it was even more corrupt in 1892. So I'm not like
Yeah.
too surprised.
I just feel like it has to be personal somehow because of the way that the murder was committed.
What happened to the cleaning lady?
Yeah.
Nothing. I don't know.
There was
Like,
You questioning the cleaning lady?
So Quaila's alternate scenario is that the maid did it because she had an affair with the dad and then wanted the wife out the way and then
legit.
just axed off the dad anyway.
That-
No, but she wouldn't kill both. Like I would just kill.
No, I could see someone doing both.
Yeah, I would. I agree. I still
Don't get him.
Not that I think the maid is for sure guilty. Those are like my two scenarios. Either
she
the daughter,
She had more of an opportunity because she was in the home alone with the
it
both
was
of them.
Liz.
In the barn.
Supposedly.
Allegedly, someone saw her. Therefore, we believe she was
Who
in the
saw her? What if it was a guy that liked her? Who saw her?
A
The
neighbor.
The neighbor. The neighbor liked her. And he was like, oh no, she was in the barn. Let's protect her. You never know.
create all these love
I
triangles
want Lizzie in jail.
around your story, okay?
It's all about well, those are my two like situations. So it's either one of those like ladies.
Those would have what the prosecutors had to present to you in order for you to be convinced.
Oh my god. That's so hard. I would
It is.
never want to actually be like in charge of deciding what happens with someone's life.
Yeah, but
Or
you
even
have
as a
to.
lawyer, to prosecute somebody and you don't know for sure if they're actually guilty or innocent. Like,
But I think having a jury is probably the smartest thing to do when it comes to making these decisions. Like, I don't think it should ever be up to like the cops alone or anything. Like,
Oh,
I
for
you
sure.
do get unbiased views.
But there's this thing called groupthink where one person will say something and then everyone will like anchor around what that one person says, and regardless of what makes sense or what doesn't, they'll go with innocent or they'll go with guilty. I don't know if I mentioned this in the last Juries In episode, but there's a movie. It's an older movie called 12 Angry Men.
Oh yeah.
And it shows about how these 12 angry men on the jury were brought a case about this young Puerto Rican guy who was accused of murdering his father. And they were all like, guilty, guilty, guilty. And then this one guy was like, okay, well, let's think about the logistics of how the murder would have went and what the evidence was and how accurate that evidence is. And then it just goes by how they all went from saying guilty to all of them saying innocent because they couldn't prove beyond reasonable doubt.
And was he guilty in the end?
I mean, they just say they didn't. They just say that they didn't accuse him of it. They said he was innocent.
But that's the good thing because you never really know at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
So
You don't. Like this lady, we don't know if she actually killed her parents or not.
So congratulations, ladies. We would have fit in with panel of jurors in 1892. So, but I'm kind of surprised that we all unanimously came to the same conclusion. It usually takes us a lot more to agree on something. But thank you to everyone for tuning in to yet another episode of To Whom It May Concern. Please continue to subscribe, like, and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The Modern Skeps. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and you give this video a thumbs up. If you don't already follow us, you should. You can find us on all social media platforms. And also, if there's ever a topic you'd like us to discuss, we're always looking for new topics. You can email us at modernskeptics@gmail.com. Sincerely, The Modern Skeptics. P.S. Was justice really served?